Hello buddy, Andy here again. Well, this is one of those videos. It was actually originally going to be a blog post. I intended to write a blog about this particular topic, but then it started to grow and grow and grow. So the original idea came out of an observation, really, whether you wandering about, whether you're travelling anywhere, it be in a bus, a train, you're walking along the street, or you see films on the news or whatever it might be of people generally in crowds. The amount of people nowadays who are wearing headphones or earpieces, you know, the sort of things you get with iPods or whatever it is. Yes, we've always listened to music. Yes, we've had different ways of listening to music, but now music is so much more portable with MP3 players, and even back in the days with CD Walkmans. I still see people with those, and it seems quite old, archaic even nowadays. But everyone's got MP3s, whether they be on their iPods, their iPhones, their phones and mobile phones, their cell phones generally. And I just wonder whether this is indicating an explosion in music. Sort of music for the masses has really become for the masses, not just for a small percentage of people who may have listened to music before but are listening to music a lot more now. Just about every environment you go to, say if you're sitting on a bus or a train or something, you'll hear people, you know, that annoying in the headphones, or even if they got their phone on without headphones on, that type of thing. Yes, I know that people aren't all listening to music. They may well be listening to podcasts or even watching movies or playing games or something like that, but the vast majority of people, I think, are listening to music. Now, where does that music come from? Yes, of course, some of that music is downloaded illegally. Yeah, we all accept that. I've done a little bit of that in the past, but I must admit I don't do that now. I do it all above board. I still buy CDs, yes, but I don't buy many, and that's a general trend nowadays, that CD sales generally are going down, and everyone's jumping up and down. Oh no, it's the end of the music business, etc. No, it isn't, because the download sales have absolutely gone through stratospheric, if you want to put it that way. They've gone through the roof. Here in Britain, I actually read something in a newspaper the other day that download sales, especially of single tracks or singles nowadays, have really risen a phenomenal amount. I can't remember what the actual figures were, but a hell of a lot. Last year, or this year so far, has been the most popular year for the buying of singles in the history of recorded music, I believe. And correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I don't think I am. Now, up until a few years ago, singles, 45s or whatever they were, that made up the bulk of the singles charts, which you have in America through Billboard, or we have over here with our top 40 or whatever, and of course obviously across the world as well in their own different way. Those sales were, you know, the charts, oh no, the sales are going right down. It was only a year or so ago that they actually started to include download sales in the charts over here in Britain in the top 40. Now the vast majority of all the sales are made are via downloads, and I'm downloading a lot more music. I'm listening to a lot more music as well, because of the ways that you can do it. Yes, we've got the download sites, of course, and we've got all those TV music stations that are blasting out stuff all day, every day. Okay, it's on heavy rotation, it might become a bit boring. So there's a lot of an outlet for music. Yes, it comes in TV programs, it comes in movies as well. But we've also got new services that have come up, whether it be things like Last FM or something like that, where you can listen to music and create your own stations. Things like Blip FM, which, although I'm not a great fan of it nowadays because of the video content on it, it's still allowing you to listen and share music with other people, which opens your ears, opens your eyes to new bands, new types of music, and you hear things that you might never hear otherwise. Another service we've got here in the UK is something called, or in Europe, is something called Spotify, which is a free service, although you can get a premium service as well, where you can listen to complete albums, streaming live content if you want. It does have adverts in it every so often, and those adverts have increased in number, but it's brilliant. That the quality is very good. You can't download it, it's purely a listening service, but you can hear something on the radio, or you can hear see a band on the TV or on those videos, and you can go and check out their album. You can experiment as well. You can try things that you, as I said before, that you might never ever bother to listen to, because yes, we can go to the download sites and we can listen to the little 30-second snippets, maybe to check that it's a song that you did hear, or maybe to get a flavour of what the album's like, and then you might buy the album or buy certain tracks as well. But what's limiting that is, in some ways, although, as I said, this is growing and growing, the music companies, the copyright issues are still there, and they're holding back some of the people that are trying to promote the music. We can think of issues that we've had here on YouTube in the last 6 months or so, where certain companies, record companies, and now they're bigger and bigger, aren't they, have had a dispute with YouTube about showing their videos. Now, most of them, I believe, if not all of them, are now back on board, maybe because they've realised what great publicity there is. And if you actually embrace this technology and look at it the right way and actually set the right amount of money for your copyright, because that's one of the issues. All of these firms, all of these companies, all of these websites, YouTube, Spotify or whatever, have got to make money. If they don't make money in some way, and obviously they get some through advertising, but if they have to pay too much for the licensing or for the copyright of the music, they're not going to be able to do it. I know that Spotify are trying to raise funds at the moment. It's the record companies or the copyright people, whoever it is that's to blame, pitch that level too high, then those companies will go out of business. And all that free advertising, all that free publicity, and all that potential for people to hear your music, your artist's music, will go. But someone else might come along, but ultimately people are going to think this just isn't worthwhile. I think that's what YouTube were holding out for. I know there was a dispute about the amount of money that was being charged, etc. I don't know the full details, but I think that everybody needs to get together and realise that this is a big thing for the music industry. And yes, this will go on to movies and books and all that. That's starting to come along as well. But music was the one that kicked all of this off, the MP3 revolution with Napster and everybody. A lot of people knocked Napster in the past, but they've done a hell of a lot for the music industry in a lot of ways. They saw what the future was, and I know they've gone legit now, they've gone legal, and I'm all for that. I'm quite happy to pay for music, but if it's either too expensive, it's too hard to come by, or it's too hard to listen to in the first place to give you some idea, other people who might not be so eager to spend their money, should we say, might not do that. There's common statistics and that a lot of young people nowadays, teenagers are up to the age of about 30, have all grown up with free stuff, whether it be music, whether it be downloading just about anything you can think of. They get free newspapers, which I talked about not long ago as well. Now, they've got used to this free culture. Yes, they have to pay for their internet connections. Yes, they have to pay for their cell phone, mobile phone connections, and even their satellite TV, cable and all that sort of stuff. But they think that it's their right to download music for free. They need to be taught otherwise. People will always download music illegally. It's always going to happen. But let's lessen that a bit and do it legally, charge the right amount of prices, and actually get the money back to the people who make the music in the first place. Because without that money, they're not going to be able to make music. Yes, they can promote it in their own ways, and lots of bands have started doing that. People like Radiohead, for example, have gone their own way, and they're changing the way that things are being done as well. Instead of releasing albums, they're just releasing single songs. That's the way to go now. Rather than have an album, like years ago, harking back to the old days, and used to get albums that were 40 minutes long, but they were 40 minutes worth of damn good music. Now it's a couple of singles and some fillers, and we can think of some good examples of that might be around just about this time. And that doesn't do anybody any good, and that means that's one of the reasons people will download music for free, because they know the rest of the album isn't worth buying, so they just get those tracks. Another issue that's raised its head over here is in the UK they're trying to come to grips with this downloading, file sharing and all this type of thing. Coming up with different ideas. In France they started a 3 strikes and you're out deal, I believe, and I think other European companies are doing the same. They are looking at ways of doing this. Yes, as I said, I agree, something needs to be done to stop people doing it illegally, but you've got to make sure that everything is in place in the first place to try and discourage people from doing it. Don't just put a blanket ban on there without looking at it. And this can count for just about anything you care to think of. You need to get the basics right, you need to get the product right and the service right, the availability right and the price right as well, before you start legislating, banging people's door down saying you've taken away your internet connection. By all means warn people, but if you come in too heavy-handed without there being a good viable opportunity or a good viable alternative, people will go elsewhere. As I said, you'll never stop the illegal downloading, but at least they've got an example or a good opportunity now to lessen the amount that people do that. It's a good time for music. I think it's great to hear all these different music. I'm downloading and buying more music than I've probably ever done in some ways as well. Yes, it's not always whole albums. It's quite often single tracks from years ago that I've forgotten about or I'm still discovering now, or whether it be new bands that come along and you buy different pieces as well. And I think that's great, hearing all this new stuff. So the question also is to you, as I said at the start of this, Are you listening to new music? Are you one of these people who goes around with headphones on all the time? And is it new music you're listening to, or is it just something that you've always loved? And are you listening to it more? I hear of people putting music on in the background far more than they used to. This has consequences, obviously, with radio stations and things like that, and the traditional media sources for music. But they've got to get with the times as well. They've got to change the way they do things. You know, you can't stand still nowadays. Things are moving forward, and if you're not with them, you're going to be left behind. I don't want to be left behind. I want that music to be there, but I want to be able to hear it. And so radio stations and some music companies, etc., have got a lot to learn. I hope they do learn it, because it would be a pity if we had to leave them behind and lessen the amount of choice and lessen the amount of music that we've got, or it goes an illegal way which doesn't help anybody at all. So anyway, there you go. That was now you know why I didn't make this a blog post, because I've already been talking for well over 10 minutes and it would have been reams and reams of paper. It only would have been in the old days. Anyway, I'd love to know your comments on this, your thoughts, what it's like where you are, whether there's any differences in the rest of the world as opposed to the UK. As I said, the sales of music in lots of ways are going up now because of downloading, especially in the singles market. Not sure what it's like with albums, but I say single tracks are certainly taking off, and that is the future, whether you or I like it at all. Anyway, thanks for your time. I'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye.